Don't feel nobody, I'm rocking, feel God. Can't rob a two cause I ain't feeling God. I made a bet Jesus could be the odds. He can shine through me cause I'm the son of God.
What are you today? Instead of how do you feel, how are you, what are you today?
I am resilient today. I feel like I am resilient. I am strong. I am blessed. I am free.
Really?
That's what I am today.
So what made you choose those words? Were you thinking about something specifically? Was you thinking about your past, how far you've come?
Well, particularly today, I'll just disclose this to you. I have stage 4 breast cancer, and I actually saw a new oncologist today.
Really?
It was somebody that it was something that I needed to do, I would say. In the beginning of this particular journey, I was just kind of just going through the motions with things. And now this year, I've been kind of just taking more charge of my health and more charge of like my actions and things that I'm doing. So I took the step today and I went by myself and, I advocated for myself, which was really big. So I felt just very strong in that moment, just very resilient, and also thinking about where I was in the beginning when I first started going to like different hospitals, and just how I was kind of just silent and not really like using my voice when I was there. So that's why I chose those words. I feel very free, and I also just feel like things in my life are just going really well right now. So
Thank you.
I just feel really free.
If I'm being honest, thank you for sharing that, because it takes a
you're
lot of
welcome.
strength and power to be transparent of certain things that we're going through,
Mm.
especially if they're big, like just like that. And even for myself, like I recently been checking out specialists because there's something wrong with me. I don't even know what to this day, but you just sharing that and being transparent about that speaks volume as far as your character and who you are.
Oh, thank you.
I'm being honest. Like when I say these things, I take stuff like that serious. So tell us, like, you're all about resilience. You're all about mindset. What put you on this journey in just walking life that way, having that type of heart, having that type of mindset?
I just feel like in any situation, there's a lesson. And I feel like you aren't doing life right unless you're learning a lesson. I'm not the type of person, I've never been the type of person to allow myself to stay down. Like, I don't like feeling sad. I don't like feeling upset. So when things do go wrong, I give myself, a moment to kind of feel what I'm feeling. But I always like to take another moment into understanding like what exactly is happening. Why is this happening? And once I kind of have that clarity, it allows me to really move forward and not making those same type of mistakes. I feel like I've always just kind of just kept it moving in my life. With everything that I've done, I've always just kind of like got up and just tried again or started over. And it's made me a better person for it. I will say that. It's not really one particular thing that has made me that way. I just kind of feel like it's just always has been in me.
Or even when you was younger, growing up.
Yeah,
Like
I've just been a very like confident child. I grew up just very confident. I have 2 loving parents who are always super supportive. I have a mom with a really big personality, and I feel like I got a lot of my personality from her.
Why do you say like big personality?
She has a big personality. Like, her personality is just very just warm, very nurturing. But you're gonna know she's in the room. Like, her presence is felt. She's very funny. She's very just very cerebral. I feel like I get a lot of my traits from my mom. Like, when I meet people, I'm just never afraid to speak my mind. I'm never afraid to be myself around any room and any person. And that confidence, I feel like, has allowed me to just kind of just take life by the horns.
I definitely felt that the first time I met you last week, Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
Because, and I don't know if it showed when we were having that conversation, because I felt as if you were I'm not saying the other conversations I had weren't genuine. Yours felt the most heartfelt because you carry that warmth. Like, as soon as you like came in, even though I was already talking to 2 people, you just was like, hey, how you doing? But it wasn't like douchey or anything, or for lack of a better word, it wasn't like that. It was just like straight like, hey, how are you? How you doing? And you just opened up your heart. You opened up what you do, everything that you're about. in a unique way. And I was like, yo, that's why I was like, hey, you should come on the podcast. You should come here. Let's have this conversation.
Yeah.
What you do is dope. It's like I never met anybody doing what you're doing, and I'm like, yo, like, but I can definitely feel those traits that your mother gave you, definitely.
Oh, thank you so much. And I want to say that one of the reasons why I approached the group that you were in is because honestly, like, you already knew what type of room we were in.
Yeah, definitely.
And whenever I see Black people, I feel like all Black people should do this. I feel like we should always be kind to each other. I feel like we should always speak to each other. We should always respect each other.
Yeah.
Especially like in a room where we're in a professional setting. I hate to see division, especially amongst us. It's so much of it, and you hear it so much, especially on platforms like podcasts and things like that, where they're just spilling out just gender wars and hatred and just like these are the topics you like hear about every day, and it's so draining.
It's because the people of this world like drama nowadays.
That's very true, and I'm just not like that. I feel like I've moved away from that. And when I saw you guys, I was like, okay, these are 3 young Black men with a presence right now. Like, I want to know what they're doing, and you never know how we can help one another. And that's kind of how I always go into any situation. Always be kind, because you never know, like, where you'll need this person, or
that's true,
or if you may need me for something.
That's true. And speaking of that, like, just so to give you guys some context, we was at a network event, and that's the type of environment that we was in. But I like that you moved that way and you came across that type of way, is because lately some network events that I've been to, or as I was, maturing in business and everything, I was going about networking wrong and stuff like that, because it always felt cheesy. It always felt corny. It always felt inauthentic. That's why in that room, and shout out to Mari because of his events. And it's only events that I've been feeling that type of way, where it's like now how I move is I don't walk around in the room and survey and try to talk to as much people as I can. Some events you do if it's the purpose of that of that setting, yeah. But I felt as if with me, I just gotta let God lead people around me.
Yeah.
That's why when I felt you coming, I was like, okay, God is leading me to you. Straight up.
And you're absolutely right about that. Like, he makes no mistakes. And I feel like everything always happens for a reason. It was a reason why we were both in that room that day. And as you can see, like, we're going to grow within the relationship that we have now. And I feel like it was a reason why we met.
Definitely. Yeah. So I want to ask you, like, tell us everything that you do, because you chose a lot of strong words when you was mentioning what are you, like resilience, confident, strong, and things of that nature. Like, I know what you do, but give some people the context as to what you do and how does that relate to resilience and things of that nature.
Okay, so it's actually resiliency is my job title, which I think is like so cool. But I am a regional life and resiliency skills coordinator for the Boys and Girls Club of Broward County. Mm-hmm. And I have the Fort Lauderdale region, and which is our central region, and it's 3 coordinators. So this is the region that I got. What I do is I do mental health programming and life and resiliency programming across all of our Fort Lauderdale clubs. I bring in community partners in the space of mental health and wellness to educate the kids just on different topics that they're not learning in school, different life skills that they're going to need in order to adjust in this world, especially with Black and brown children, because this is the region that I have is majority. These are the children that I service. And I just noticed, with working in this job, that there are a lot of like kids that don't have those skills. Like, they have, skills in education and skills in like, hobbies and academics and sports and things like that. But to be able to adjust when life takes a turn, like, that's a skill that you need to know how to do. When things go crashing down, like, how do you bounce back? Like, that's a skill. Yeah. And I realized the importance of this job is to help kids with like those particular skills, to help them navigate the world in a way that they might not know from their parents, because I want them to break generational curses. That's my that was one of my objectives with working with my job. My side businesses, I have 2. I have a wine lifestyle brand called Dolce Vines with my friend Bria, and it was located in Baltimore, which is where I'm from. We have it in 5 liquor stores, 1 restaurant, and 1 club. Wow. So that business kind of on pause right now, just because I had a turn with my health and I had to really just take care of myself first and my finances. I wanted to make sure that I'm here, and I'm healthy, so I can continue doing the things that I want to do with that business. And then I have an interactive photo booth mirror that I lease to events, private events, public events.
Down here or
in Florida,
okay.
down here. So I have a mirror that I have customized like animations and frames, and I use it for, like I said, I lease it for people's events when they have like parties, get-togethers, things like that. It helps them create memories.
I don't think we had talked about that. I think we only talked about the wine and what you're doing regionally in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
But going back to regionally in Fort Lauderdale, believe it or not, we have 3 generations in this room. Like you're working with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm millennial, and I think you're just right before I think millennials, right? What are the things that you've seen that was missing from your generation and the generation of kids that you're working in right now? Because you already seen that they lacked the ability or the skills and resilience and bouncing back. Was that the same thing in your generation?
Well, I just want to clarify. I'm about to say I am a millennial.
Oh, really? You're a millennial?
Yes.
Because I know it's 2000. Millennial starts what? 2002.
I think it's like 1989 though, like on down.
No,
what is it? I'm 1991.
Because I thought I wasn't a millennial. I thought I was the generation before too as well, because it ends off at 1997.
What's it start at 97?
It starts at 97. Let's pull it up right now.
Let's pull it up. I'm about to say, I don't want to feel old right now.
No, you're not old, because it's like because somebody made me feel young because I'm 23 myself. But it's like they told me, yo, you're a millennial. I'm like, no, I'm not with these kids. I'm not with.
I would consider myself.
Let me see. Millennial. Let's go to the generation list. And I have no problem doing this on the podcast. So generation, what is it called again? Generation.
Was that you said millennials
Generation
or Generation
X.
Z, or was that like
Generation
X before? Is that Generation X?
Let me see. Generation years range.
Yeah, because Gen Z is the new one.
Okay, yeah, right here. So millennials is okay. So I'm Gen Z. I'm not a millennial.
Okay.
So that I think I'm a millennial, but I'm Gen Z. So that's the thing. So you're a millennial, I'm Gen Z. I got it mixed up. I thought millennials was what I am.
Yeah.
So Gen Z is 1995 to 2012. Mm-hmm. And millennials is 1980 to 1994. So, but what I'm saying is we have 3 different generations, because you're still working with these kids in Gen Z, but you're working with them at the they're further down the spectrum than me, because I'm at the beginning where it's like that bridge, because I feel like I'm a millennial, but I'm a Gen Z and I have different perspectives because I wasn't around with all the technology and all this type of stuff. But
you watched the transition.
I watched the transition, but I still had the same cartoons, same toys, same everything. Yeah. So it's like I still had the same childhood, but the kids that you're working with, they had a completely different childhood.
Oh, absolutely.
They're iPad raised. Bro, like you said, they lacked all these skills. Mm-hmm. I gained all these skills. We gained all these skills because we were outside. We were around people. We were around the different generations, because that's when everybody really like connected and was around each other. Yeah. That's why some people think I'm older by just how I speak, but I'm not.
Yeah, I would say you definitely have maturity about you. But yeah, no, I completely understand what you're talking about.
So it's like, what has been the difference in what you've seen working with the kids you work with now versus the millennials? And, and I can say a little tad bits of my perspective of where I am on the spectrum.
I will say that there is a certain entitlement that Gen Z has.
Really? Oh, you see, man? Go ahead.
I would say there's a little bit of an entitlement. There's everything has to happen like so immediate for you guys. Like everything has to be like so quick, and there is no process. Like I feel like with my generation, like we enjoyed the process of getting to where we are. Like, like we enjoy like, networking, working with people, building those skill sets. Like really, like, we didn't have Chat GBT like when we're in college. like ChatGPT wasn't a thing. Like I have to use my brain and formulate ideas and opinions and thoughts and write a well-informed verse paper. Like, you know, like, so I feel like with us is like we had to use more of like our brains. We had to use more of just the things that we were naturally given. Versus like I feel like this generation is like a lot of things are just so immediate and fast and is just given to them that it's like it's this sense of entitlement to where as though the people skills, I feel like the social skills kind of lack.
How so?
I feel like let's just use COVID for example. COVID was a time and there were a lot of people born during COVID or they, you know, were very young during COVID, like 3 or 4 years old or 6 years old, where we had a year and a half, probably pushing towards 2 years, where there was really no in-person and interpersonal interactions. Like all the interactions were very much online through a screen, or the only interactions that you really did have were the people that were in your household or the people that kind of came over your house, but we weren't really interacting with the world.
Yeah.
With that event, I feel like it really hindered people in terms of communication. Effective communication lacked pretty much. Like people don't know how to talk to people. Like people don't know how to engage with people. People don't know how to, like how you said in the beginning at networking events, how you kind of like didn't know how to kind of start a conversation with someone, or
it felt cheesy. Like, hey, how are you? This, that. I'm like,
or like navigate a room, or even like, you know, I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and she said that her nephew went to the club and just kind of like handed his phone to a girl, didn't ask her name, like didn't ask like anything, and I'm like, I think that's insane. I'm like, you know, I'm from an era where it's like, you know, we had a house phone. You gotta like literally like gather your thoughts to talk to someone's parent before you can even get to talk to that person. Like, you know, like
yeah, that's crazy.
It's like exactly. So it's like, you know, we had to work for a lot of the things that we're doing, and I feel like this generation, I think the problem is because everything is so immediate, because everything is just so just impulsive for you guys, that it's really hard, I feel like, for us to communicate with one another. Like we can communicate with one another, not saying that we can't, but it does make it a little harder because like I feel like a lot of times I feel like the actions of Gen Zers, I don't know how y'all say
I don't even
thing.
know. I thought I was a millennial, so I'm still
like
trying
it's still there.
It's still there.
I just think there's a lack of gratitude, like, and I feel like that's the struggle that I have with working with kids sometimes, is like I can see that there is like just this like this entitlement, this oh you have to give this to me, you have to do this, and there aren't any real people skills and social skills. And that's what I'm trying to teach our kids, like, you know, manners, how to be polite, like, you know, how to talk to someone, how to, you know, work for things. And that is, I think, the number one challenge I will say that I see that we have. Now, I do like the fact that you guys have made things easier for us.
What do you mean? How so?
Because I feel like Gen Zers are very innovative. I feel like they're very creative.
Okay.
With their jobs and things that they do. You guys have businesses that I wouldn't even have thought of, but it makes my life a little more easier. Like, there's a business for someone standing in line. Like,
what? You
can stand in line for someone. Like, if you want shoes, like Jordans, and you don't want to stand in line, you can pay someone to stand in line. That's a person's business.
That's creative.
But that's dope, right?
That is.
But I feel like that comes from like this generation that's just like, they're not afraid to take risk and just, you know, they'll dive in whether they're going to fail or not, or whether there's any experience there or not, you know, just to kind of just go and to do it. And I like that that energy from that generation.
Yeah, I speaking of that, of going in and just doing, like, given that I'm a Gen Z, like I've seen the difference in how the people around me do jump in and make the leap and take these steps and take the risk, and seeing that people like my parents are so uniform.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want to jump in. I sacrificed everything for you. But I'm seeing people, they have kids and they didn't need to sacrifice.
Yeah.
I guess it was just a lack of the resources, or just not knowing, or not having the mentor, trying to feel prided in doing things yourself, or just closed-minded because of the environment that they was raised in. Given that my parents came from a third world country, Haiti, when they came down here, it was just me, just by myself, they operated in just fear, and that fear caused them to just be solo dolo
Yeah.
all day and every day.
It was like self-isolation.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand that. I feel like too, like we're in an information era. I feel like where
course,
there's, like you
definitely.
said, there's so much access to resources and information. And I feel like that has allowed us to kind of not have to sacrifice as much or have to struggle as much, because there are resources and things that are out there to kind of make our lives a little bit better now. And then also I feel like we are kind of, even millennials, I feel like we're kind of the generation where we do kind of like move to the beat of our own drum, because we have so many like tribes out there that think the way that we do. You can find any group of people that have the same type of like thought process or mindset as you out there, because of the information era that we're in.
Yeah, it's the access is right there.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes it just easier for us, for people to just share ideas and to agree and to not feel so confined, or not feel like, you know, they have to just be one way or do one thing. And then I will say, because even back to our parents, my dad joked with me because I went on vacation. He's like, you just started this job. Like, how'd you go on vacation? I'm just like,
because I can.
I'm going to go on vacation. They give me vacation, so I'm going to use it. Like, they're so used to, like you said, like just to staying in the box and following the rules. And I feel like I feel like the millennials was the start of the generation to kind of like push the envelope to see like what boundaries can we push. Like, you know, because you do have some millennials that are very routine as well, but you have a lot of them that are not. And it's because we're understanding that our personal happiness and our personal fulfillment comes from self, and it comes from, you know, feeling the internal happiness, and it comes from,
it's on us.
Yeah, it's on us, and it doesn't come from just like the dream that's being sold to us, the American dream of a family, a house, and
it's not just that.
It's self-happiness, self-fulfillment.
It's self-happiness, self-fulfillment, and knowing that I want more is okay.
Yeah.
It's not like feeling greedy or anything like that. If you have the drive, if you have the hunger, if you have the passion to grow, to learn, to develop yourself, to be ready to handle and to want more, you can do that. Before it was just, like you said, white American dream, white picket fence, dog, family, house, all that type of stuff. Work a job, only go on vacation on summer, which is why that blew your father's head. But it's like once you understand, like, yo, this world has so much for us. Why not take the risk?
Exactly.
Especially if you're young.
Have you ever read The 4 Agreements?
The 4 Agreements. No, I heard of that book. No.
You should read it. I'm currently reading it right now. I'm not done, but I'm on chapter 2. And so pretty much what we just talked about is what it talks about in that book. It's about how we're living in someone else's dream. Like, this is created for us already. Like, this earth, the rules of this planet, the rules of, you know, of jobs, and what we achieve as happiness is already created for us. Like, this is what happiness looks like. This is what success looks like. And when people kind of go against the grain, especially like back in the day, like they're looked at as being like radical, or looked at as being like rule breakers.
Rebellious in a way, yeah.
Yeah. But in reality, that's that person that is waking up from a dream that is created for them.
Yeah.
That is a person that is finally living in their dream and deciding what success looks like for them and what measure of success looks like for them. And once you achieve that, you have achieved what God has wanted you to achieve in life.
Yeah,
like, this is, he wants us to achieve what our personal happiness, our personal dreams are. So that's what the book talks about. It talks about us creating our own agreements and kind of breaking those agreements that have been created for us that don't necessarily fit into the mold of sometimes what we believe in and who we are.
So I can imagine some people are thinking that, all right, I'm doing these things, I'm growing in life, it's still hard. What can you say to those people, or what advice can you give to them to kind of, you know, continue to chase, to continue to have that drive, to continue to beat your own drum and not stop because you get doubtful, you get fearful, and all these things that the world tries to insinuate on us?
So Sarah Jakes, she had made a comment, and I always like kept this comment with me because as soon as I heard it, it's the only way I live my life now. And the comment was, how do you want your life to feel versus how do you want your life to look? And I feel like when you have an idea of how you want your life to feel, you are able to move in that feeling, and the actions align with that feeling versus how you want it to look. I feel like a lot of people kind of fail at life when they're in comparison of what the next person has, and just trying to like just achieve a measure of someone else's success or what they feel like is successful, versus understanding that if your life feels a certain way right now, even if you don't have that BMW, even if you don't have like that NFL contract, you're still doing life right because your life is feeling exactly the way that you intended it to be, that you want it to be, for whatever it is that tailors to your lifestyle. And I feel like with kids, that's what I tell the students that I work with now. Like, it doesn't matter. I feel like a lot of times, especially in our community, the success is always measured by money, and it's always measured by flash
status, and all these things.
Yeah. And when they feel like they don't have it, then people kind of regress and they feel like they're a failure. And that's when there's a ripple effect of other things that are going on in your life, like versus like understanding that everyone's path is different. And if you understand what your path is and you're willing to walk that path and understand how you want it to feel once you achieve that measure of success, that's when I feel like you've achieved, I feel like overall, I feel like happiness. And I feel like then resiliency comes, kicks in from there. Like, resiliency kicks in from, when things don't go when things don't go right, and you go down like a different path, or like when things kind of like, when you're moving towards that path, things kind of just take a turn. Like, that's when your resiliency kicks in, because you want to get to a certain goal, but you have to go through these other obstacles, and it's the steps and how you take it and how you get there.
So what does the resiliency process look like? Like you mentioned, you teach these skills to these kids, and wisdom is timeless, wisdom is ageless, nicheless, however you want to call it. Like, what is the process that you teach these kids in order to be resilient, have these skills? Like, is it just journaling? Like, is it something practical? Is it something that they just create that is habitual, which is like, no negative self-talk? Like what is it like that you teach these kids?
Well, all those things. I definitely promote like positive and healthy coping skills and healthy outlets, instead of just, using substances, or instead of, being destructive. Like, what are you doing with your time? Like, during this time when things don't necessarily go right, it's so easy to blame other people, and it's so easy to kind of like beat down on ourselves. But in reality, you have to give yourself grace. I think that's the number one thing I tell my kids, because they're coming from very hard circumstances that they can't control. As a child, you can't control the circumstances that you're in. You have a lot of parents that are also still fighting battles and trying to break generational curses, and don't necessarily want to take that out on their kids, but it happens. And the reality is, instead of falling back into that pattern, I do let them know, I'm like, hey, you can journal, you can like, release these emotions through music, or you can release these emotions with, a healthy outlet or something to do. Also, I teach them how to adjust and adapt, and to understand to not take everything so personal. I feel like kids at this age, everything's so personal and everything's so dramatized, and it's the end of the world when one little thing doesn't go right.
That's true.
And
that's definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that way too when I was a kid. Like, you hear someone talk about you and it's the end of the world. And reality is like, you look back on that moment now as an adult, and it's like, it really wasn't even that bad.
It wasn't.
It wasn't that bad at all. So I really do teach my kids like to understand that we're all people when we're all trying to figure it out, and people have their personal journeys that they have to figure out too. And it's not a personal attack on you because something didn't go your way, or this person didn't pull through, or your father didn't show up this day. Like, you have to understand that people have things going on in their lives as well, when you can't control the actions of other people. And once you're able to understand that, you can only control what you do and what happens. That's when, the mindset starts to change. Like, let me adjust my thinking. Like, let me adjust to think that this is not a personal attack because dad didn't show up and he said he was going to. Maybe dad was just really busy. But if that is the case, that doesn't make me a failure. That doesn't make me a bad person.
They start creating their own story. And when that spirals out of control, especially in a negative way, then that's when they set themselves back mentally. They start feeling bad, feeling doubtful, and that causes them to feel confined, restricted, or feel like they could not do anything.
Exactly. You have to change the narrative, like you said. It's called, and that's actually a form of therapy I've learned. Narrative therapy is changing the stories we tell ourselves.
Therapy is I'm not gonna lie, people used to make therapy seem like, oh, you have a problem, you have a mental disorder.
Oh yeah.
Back then I'm like, yo, take therapy. I'm 23, I took therapy.
Yeah, I mean, we all do, but I think part of that is the stigma that's attached to therapy in the Black and brown community, and I feel like it's lack of resources. It is lack of trust, because you go to these particular like mental health services and we're not really being serviced, or we're being passed over, or being pushed to take medicine, and no one's really looking at what the real problems are. And I think that because of that mistrust, and also the trust of the family unit and keeping everything in the family.
I want to talk about trust. You said that because I talked to somebody and I told them, like, yo, you should take therapy. And I've seen it in two ways. From that person that I talked to, they said, yo, I don't even think I'm going to tell I don't even feel comfortable telling my therapist what I'm going through, or have that conversation with them. I don't know if it's something psychologically ingrained that caused them not to do that. But I even heard Charlemagne the God said, yo, I lied to my therapist for years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I lied to my therapist because people don't feel that trust, or they don't feel comfortable, or like you said,
or they'll feel judged.
They assume they'll feel judged, or they don't even have that relatability because there's not many therapists that we can relate to. And the reason why I say this is because when I took therapy, I related so much to my therapist. Shout out to Miss Laura, Counselor Laura now, and she helped me so much in understanding why I am the way that I am with my emotions, why I am the way I am because I grew up how my mom treated me, how my father treated me. She guided me to the Bible to read and understand even more on what I was going through. But I related to her because she was in my environment. She had my skin color. And not saying that I thought I had these thoughts. It was just kind of natural. And her being in my church too as well. Many times people don't feel as if they don't need the help, and when they try to get the help, they go in places that they won't feel that relatability with.
Right.
So it's like, for people who want to take therapy, you have to find a place, or you have to find somebody. And like you said, with this generation creating these different things, there's even a way where you can find therapists online that relate to you.
Oh yeah,
Like,
there's so many apps. You can have OpenPath is one. I always tell people about OpenPath, BetterHelp. These apps, you can pick a therapist, like you said, down to the gender, down to the ethnicity, down to the religion, everything. And even down to like they specialize in different stuff. Like I've met a therapist that specialized in burnout for mental health professionals. That's a skill.
And there's 7 types of burnout. I thought there was one.
Yeah.
That's another, yeah.
And in mental health, you get burnt out a lot because you're listening to people's problems all day long. You're helping people with lack of money, lack of resources. And you could easily get stressed out on top of dealing with the daily things and personal challenges that you have in your life. So there's literally, like you said, there's a therapist for everything that you're going through. And it's no excuse anymore to not have therapy, in my opinion. It's like you can literally do it from the comfort of your home in telehealth and be in your house having a therapy session.
You can call a doctor right now and they can give you a diagnostics over Zoom. And they did that to me. I'm like, yo, it's allergies. And it happened to be allergies and they fixed it. I'm like, yo, it's a different day and age now. Yeah. That's crazy. So with everything now that you're passionate about and everything that you cover, I'm trying to see how I'm going to do this.
Okay.
So how can somebody strive to be as vulnerable and as authentic as they can be?
As vulnerable and as authentic as they can be.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with authenticity. Authenticity happens when you're willing to let go of the opinions of how other people feel about you, when you're willing to let go of, like you said, that kind of that status of where you lie in the world and how you're viewed. Like my authenticity happened, and I tell my kids this, when I hit rock bottom. Everyone has one. Like everyone has a rock bottom. And I feel like once I hit that rock bottom, I realized that everything that I thought, that I deemed that was important, anything that I felt was like a big deal, immediately went away. It evaporated because at this point now I'm looking at myself and how I got here, and I need to figure out a way to how I'm going to bounce back.
So what does authenticity look like, from your perspective?
From my perspective, like I said, it's really shedding away the opinions of other people. It's really shedding the status of what the world wants from you, your parents want from you, your family wants from you. It's really sitting with yourself. It's really meditating, praying, any type of spiritual practice to really go within yourself and understanding who you are as a person. And I feel like nobody can tell anyone how to be authentic. I feel like that is really a self journey. That is a process. And really understanding who you are and what value you have in this world. And I feel like my authenticity, I found it as soon as, like I said, when I had nothing. And at that point, once I ended up being the person with nothing, I stopped judging people. I stopped looking at I started looking at situations from a lens of empathy. And I feel like once I started to look at things empathetically, like I really started to understand myself more, because I really started to receive everyone as a teacher and not as competition, or not as, oh, I'm better than you, or we're in a category, we're in a box. Everyone's a teacher to me. Everyone's a friend. We're all on this earth together. And that's when authenticity, I feel like, really sets in, is when you can look at people from an empathetic lens and understand that we are all people that all face challenges regardless of differences.
That's true.
And to understanding your purpose in that and how you can navigate in this world with that. Now, as far as vulnerability, I think kind of the same thing. Like, that kind of happens, like,
do you feel as
when
if
you're ready.
Do you feel as if, and I want to see your perspective on this. Do you feel we should be vulnerable with everybody, or not everybody?
Oh, no, not everybody.
Why do you say that?
Because I feel like vulnerability it could be a weapon to really, like, not destroy someone, but it potentially could be a weapon to destroy someone, depending on who you're vulnerable with.
Wait, go deeper on that. What do you mean?
Like, if I'm trying to get a job, right? And we're going after the same job, and I'm letting you in on certain, like, personal, like, finances or personal things that are really affecting me. And you kind of use that to your advantage to kind of step up or to get the job over me. I feel like that's in a way where vulnerability, where you kind of lose in that moment. I don't want to use the word lose, but where it's kind of like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to explain what I'm trying to explain. It was like that coming out.
When
but
I say vulnerable, when I say vulnerable, I'm talking about as far as your personal truth and who you are, things of that nature.
Oh, okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so vulnerability, I feel like you should be vulnerable, because I feel like people are transparent. I feel like people respond better to transparency. So I'm vulnerable with my kids on my experiences. I tell them, I don't give them everything, because of some things that I feel like they're not going to be able to handle, like, certain adult themes in my life. But I am vulnerable enough for them to understand and to feel relatable to the situation, and to understand that they're not alone. Like, this isn't just a you issue. Like, this is a us issue, because I've gone through this as well. And also, I feel like people do business better when you're vulnerable, where people feel like they can relate to you, talk to you, that you're a real person.
You're not just a salesperson trying to know what they want, you ask them all these questions, but not show who you are. Yeah, definitely. And my spiritual father and sorry, I don't know if you saying.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, because my spiritual father, the reason why I asked that question on vulnerability and on your truth, and I like that you said that you don't share certain things about your personal adult life with your kids, but some things you do as it relates to them. And something my spiritual father taught me this was, it's okay to be vulnerable, but you have to discern when the person is ready for that vulnerability, because some loads may be too heavy for somebody. Somebody might not be ready just in general, or even like the Bible says, and my spiritual father preaches Jesus, preaches the Bible, and all these things. And it even says seek wise counsel. Many times people, like, even growing up, and I feel like this is why sometimes some people in Gen Z or my generation don't know how to handle resilience or don't have these skills, is because we're vulnerable to our peers and not people older than us or people who we need to be vulnerable to give us the advice that we need to get out of it. Like, you're not going to be vulnerable about your situation to your homeboy or to your homegirl or to somebody that has no relationship skills if it's tied to that topic, because they're just going to guide you from that twisted perspective. Oh, they ain't ish, they ain't that, they ain't that. Oh, just leave them, this, that, and third. But when you see somebody who, like, just putting the relationship title over it, when you talk to somebody who's been married for years, who been there for years, you be vulnerable with them in that sense, because now they can guide you with wisdom, with understanding, because they develop that understanding because they're in it and they've kept it.
Yeah.
You feel me? So I like that you put it into that perspective. So with you teaching these kids, you teaching all these things, what has been most difficult in you changing, their beliefs or their values so it follows, being skillful and resiliency and things of that nature?
I talked about this literally the other day. We did an exercise on emotions, and a lot of our kids.
Jesus.
Oh my.
I'm a victim to not understanding my emotions, like I said. But go ahead.
I mean, and it's crazy. I guess
man.
I'm not, and so for me, I find it challenging when other people, I feel like, aren't able to be in touch with their emotions. But what I'm learning is, like, our kids are having a hard time choosing joy. That was a really big theme with every club that I've worked with, every boys and girls club that I've worked with. And I have 4 different clubs that I work across with teens and kids. And choosing joy is like this uncommon concept. Like, they've gravitated towards the emotion of feeling angry, feeling anxious, even like maybe like feeling surprised sometimes. But when it came down to happiness and joy, rarely anyone chose that emotion during our exercise. And I think that it's because of the environments that they're in. Yeah, it's because definitely. Of, you wake up every day and you're in a situation you can't control. Then you go to a school with people that kind of treat you as though like you're a statistic before even knowing you or understanding your situation. And they're constantly being talked down to and talked at. And I feel like because of those particular situations, like, it's hard to find joy in moments like that. It's hard to find joy in a lifestyle where you want it to be a certain way, but you don't know how to get it or where to find it or how to even make yourself happy in moments where things aren't necessarily going your way. Even when things aren't necessarily going my way, I find ways to make myself happy. And I feel like they don't have that particular, I feel like, coping skill into finding personal happiness, which is why I teach like self-care, self-love, like, because that's where happiness comes from, is once you find something that I feel like relates to, your personal beliefs and who you are, like how you said you go to church and, you have like a community of people that, have probably taught you how to choose joy and to feel happy.
Believe it or not, I learned before I got to church.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is speaking to my church, differently about my church, because my church taught me more about life, how to live, how to be prosperous, and not just basic things about prosperity, but true prosperity and knowing who you are, learning about Jesus Christ, learning the gospel, learning on how to be righteous necessarily. Where I got my joy, and I was about to, chime in. And it's sad to say this, many times for us to choose joy, we have to go. Well, it's always somebody been through a traumatic experience or a near-death experience. Because I used to be that guy that always leaned on anger. Like you look at me now, I have a lot of passion, a lot of desire, a lot of hungry for joy and happiness. Because I almost died, and I realized that my anger got me to that point.
How did you almost die?
Jesus.
I was say you brought it up. Now I have to ask you.
So yeah, and I even made a post on Instagram at the time it happened. I was so angry one day. I was going through a lot, and this is one of the things I learned in therapy, where it's like I learned to be so numb till I just blow up, because I never processed or felt through my emotions, because nobody around me felt through their emotions. So I was just so angry one day. Mad. A lot of things was going bad. Like, it was already going bad and stacking up months prior. But that day, I got a ticket, $260, going to work. I was late. They're giving me hell at work. Next thing you know, somebody spilled a whole tray of water. My phone got messed up. It was July.
Oh, wow.
It was July 4th, 2019.
Okay.
I remember the day I almost died too and everything. So then next thing you know, I took my phone to Apple, got it fixed, but no, it was a lot of things now stacking up on top of that anger, on top of that feeling, on top of feeling depressed, on top of, my heart being broken from a relationship. So it was a lot of things just compounding, and I was literally at the cuff. So I was driving home. One day, leaving Apple, so mad because usually music calms me down. That was one of my outlets, which I learned that music can be a distraction because music amplifies what you're feeling. And what I would have been listening to was angry music, or at that time rap, that would have caused me to drive crazy in traffic.
Yeah.
You feel me? So I was leaving home from Apple, just filled up my tank. I was almost home when that happened.
Okay.
I just entered my gate. Next thing you know, I calmed myself down. I was pumping gas. Next thing you know, I merged. It was a two-way street. I merged, overtook 3 cars. As I was about to overtake this 4th car, they all of a sudden started making this left turn, because as you was going on a 2-way street, there was this T-bone right there. So, being a good driver that I am, I made that left turn with them, but on coming on that 2-way traffic, I seen a G-Wagon.
Okay.
So it's either I hit the G-Wagon head on in my Nissan Maxima 2010, or I hit this VW and we go flying. So I hit the VW because I didn't want to hit full on the G-Wagon because I weigh over 10,000 pounds.
Oh,
I'm going to
wow.
die if I
Oh my God. So you're really evaluating in this moment.
Yeah. And it was a split-second decision. I'm like, no, that's a heavy-ass truck.
Oh my God.
I said no.
That would have been insane.
No, yeah. So I hit the VW on the driver's side door. But next thing you know those short, stubby palm trees that's really thick?
Uh-huh.
Next thing you know, I see that tree in front of me and my hands just go up. Next thing you know, my steering wheel just veered left by itself after I hit the car. The damage that tree did to the right side of my car, if I would have hit it head on, I would have flew out the windshield.
Oh, wow.
I had no seatbelt, no nothing. And if you see the pictures, I can show you pictures right now. We flew into a forest. My car is literally like this.
Okay.
In the forest. So you see everything under my car, but I got out unscathed.
Oh my, not injured at all.
Not injured at all, but if I would have hit that tree head on, I would have died.
You would have died.
I would have died. I had no seatbelt,
wow.
no nothing. And what surprised me was that the car that I hit, even though I hit the driver's side door, they were injured at all too, despite how fast I was going, despite how we crashed. And bro, it was, if I show you the picture, you'd have been like, yo, how did you not fly out the windshield?
That's so scary to me.
Yeah.
So what changed after that day?
After that day, I had an emotional breakdown. I was crying and just being vulnerable. I was saying, yo, I want to die. I had this little baseball tee. I ripped it.
Dramatic.
I went through all types of theatrics that time.
Okay.
And I was reflecting after the fact, because I felt so much of a disappointment. Not the fact that I got in an accident, but the fact that I got in a car accident and my parents are going to shun me. But when they came to me with the perspective like, yo, we could give a damn about the car. As long as you're okay, we're good. And I was like, yo.
You realized you were loved in that moment.
I realized I was loved, and I realized there is love, there is joy. We just have to choose, because I was so used, and this is another thing that I learned. Like my parents, I was so used to them being angry with me. When I realized they chose not to be angry and to make sure that I was okay, I was like, you know what? Let me just choose this joy. And since then, it's just been subconscious, where sometimes people say I'm annoying because I have so much love and I'm always hugging on people.
But that's beautiful, though. I hate it. I don't like when people do that.
But it's subconscious right now, where it's like I'm just filled with joy and love and happiness. But
you value life, and I feel like
traumatic event
exactly
that got me there. Much times people don't have those traumatic events.
Exactly. But you value gratitude now. You're grateful, you're thankful, because like you said, God really just saved you in that moment. Yeah. And I feel like a part of that appreciation is showing it. And I think that that's why I'm like that too. Like, I'm very much I'm very a person that expresses gratitude. Like, I'm always going to be nurturing. I'm always going to be kind to my kids.
Sure.
because it's like, I know that they don't have that, but I know if I keep expressing that, if I keep like expressing that to them and giving them like, that side of me, that one day like maybe they will feel that way too.
Kids in this generation definitely need an example, especially one that they relate with. Because on top of me finding joy, I still wasn't where I wanted to be in life. I was still working 2 jobs. I was still doing God knows what to make money. And it wasn't until I found my mentor, Hernold, as I was on my journey, just wanting better for my life, choosing joy, and it was a compound effect for just thinking and how can I get more. I seen him, I related with him, I seen how successful he was, and I was like, you know what, bro? Yeah, it's for me. I see it. I picture it.
Yeah,
I pictured it, and it's kind of like how the saying goes, you have to see to believe it.
Yeah.
So once I seen it in him, I was like, you know what, I can get it. And I'm grateful to have met him because before we met, he was even doing stuff where he took kids to see mansions in our local community so they can see like, yo, this is in your backyard. This is in your zip code. You can get it. What
It's
makes
attainable.
you think? Yeah, it's obtainable. But many times the people in our community that we relate with, mainly like in our community, like in our Black community, they don't have people like that we can relate with.
Yeah.
Even with my spiritual father, how I found that church was so random. But when I walked in, I was like, I relate so much to him, to the type of hairstyle that he had till he grew out his hair. I never seen a pastor that grew out his hair before. And to the words he was speaking, how he was relating it to me in my life, understanding and seeing that he went through the same things. He went through similar things as he was telling his story. It's like, yo, you need to find somebody that you can relate with.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly.
So that's good that you're that person teaching these kids these things, especially with emotions, because even though I still got work to do, like that, I'm that's crazy that you're seeing that is the number one thing that's been hard to break from these kids.
Yeah, is choosing joy, choosing happiness. So just helping them understand that there is value in their life. And like you said, like you at one point in time didn't feel that value, like in that moment, like, and it became destructive.
Yeah.
But and having them understand, like, even in the midst of destruction, like, God doesn't make mistakes, and this situation isn't forever. I want them to have these skills to understand that they can have a better life and they can do better and they can move places beyond what their parents have or their grandparents have, and they can achieve that happiness and fulfillment. But it's about mindset, and that's where it starts. It starts with choosing joy and choosing happiness. And like I said, I'm always going to say, how do you want your life to feel? Going with that feeling.
Man, you have a lot to teach and guide. So it's like, you mentioned you do these things for these kids and you have these other businesses, like, and you did mention some stuff off camera. I don't know if you want to talk about the coaching side. Is that open to, is your knowledge and your journey, is that open for you to be able to coach and teach others these same things that's even older than the kids that you're working with that kind of need that same type of training or guidance?
Yeah, well, part of my job description as well is counseling. So I do like mental health coaching for our kids. I do it for the staff too, because I know that they need it too. And I have plenty of people who've came to me, at work and, really didn't feel understood or heard. As far as like coaching, so I'm in school right now to be a therapist. I go to...
Yeah, we need that. We need that's good.
We need more Black therapists, right?
Yeah.
And I realized it more than ever why I need to do it. I've heard it my entire life. Like, people have always come to me with their problems and people feel so open to share with me wherever I am. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is really the time where I really need to start this. So last year I enrolled myself in school. And I have a year and a half left.
Amen.
And I'll be a therapist in 2026 of June. And so I go to my residency this month to like do my sessions and to get feedback on what I'm doing, to know if I'm doing the right thing and where to improve on. But I actually do want to start my coaching business when I get back. That was one of the things I said I wanted to do this year, was to start coaching for women going through, like I told you earlier about me having breast cancer, like women going through breast cancer or a terminal illness, like families, how to navigate that, how it looks. And then also I want to be able to work with kids and work with families as well, and to helping them navigate, like, challenges that they're foreseeing, because I just kind of feel like there's a common theme, like you said, in our community, and there's a common thing where we don't talk to people and we only keep things within the family unit, and that's not really helpful because we don't always have the skill sets to really go through, like, or to really like to help someone. We don't always have like those skill sets, and that's why therapists are created, because these are professionals that have went through understanding the modalities of, how to treat families and what tailors to that family. Not narrative therapy may work for these kids, but solution focused therapy may work for you. Like there are different styles of therapy that work for our needs, and understanding what those are, I feel like, is something that I want to begin to educate our community on.
That's fire. So with everything, how can somebody connect with you, or what would be the best way you can tell them how to connect with you?
Like for services,
whether it's for services, whether it's to, like what I'm doing to help you out with the kids, wherever your heart is leading. Like, what's the best way for somebody can connect with you? You're going to the network events, you want to make connections, so it's like, but it's out there for somebody to see it. How can they make that connection with you?
So I'm mainly, I'm always on Instagram. I will say that. That's probably the best way to connect with me, because I like to see a person. I like to see what they're doing. I want people to see what I'm doing and to see where they can fit in. Because a lot of times people can see my stories and like, oh, you just did a vision board night. I do this for families. And I'm on Instagram. It's at Celebrate with Zach, Z-A-K. And with the traditional with, not W-I-T, not the Gen Z, with the regular with. So Celebrate with Zach.
I'm still getting over it.
That's my Instagram. And then also by email. So if they do want to connect in a way of, wanting programming or wanting to contribute to programming for the Boys and Girls Club, or wanting to be a community partner, I can be contacted through email, which is Z, my last name Archibald, so ARCHABLE at BGCBC, which is the Boys and Girls Club of Broward County.org. That's probably would be the best outlet.
Amen. So I'd like to end off with this one question. What is one thing you want to make sure the people that watch this podcast take away and know? It could be something you said on the pod, or it can be just your number one advice.
I would say my number one advice is to, like I said, to be kind and to really look at all people through an empathetic lens, and to understanding that where somebody is, we could easily end up. And it's just important that you treat people with kindness, and you never know where you're going to, who you may need. You never know if somebody's going to need you, and you just want to always be a kind person. Like, you want to be a person that's remembered in being kind and being a good person. Like, that's my number one thing. Empathy. We're all human, and we're all here for a reason, and not one person is better than the other. Like, to look at someone from an empathetic lens.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So as we wrap it up, my name is Olivia J. Darcis. I'm with Zach. We're here helping you do to do life well. Peace. Hey, wait, if you like this episode, make sure to check out similar ones like this. I don't know which side is going to be on, but you pretty much get the idea. And if this episode helped you think better, perform on a higher level, and, be a little more confident, make sure you share this video with somebody that might need it, that might need that extra boost, and also hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, because I want to continue to see the impact that this platform, this podcast is having on the entire world. So make sure you check it out. Peace.